Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. It's been a while since I've done anything on the vinyl update of sorts. It's been kind of a crazy week, as you can imagine, with the loss of the vehicle and getting in touch with insurance agents and body shops and all kinds of things. However, on the positive tip, I got my car back. It's been recovered from the tow yard 3 weeks later, so it's kind of miraculous I found it in the shape it's in. I was able to take it off the lot, and I probably won't go into the whole logistics of it, but an officer and I kind of scoped the vehicle out, and as far as I can tell, it must have been a little small person. I'm guessing a kid broke into it, and thankfully nothing was stolen. They didn't touch one thing in there. I even had my tissues on my passenger seat, and they were still there. So the only things they messed with was like the EQ settings on my radio and the sunroof, which may or may not be the entry point they made getting into my vehicle. It was actually propped open when I left the tow yard. I didn't even notice that was open. However, and the air conditioning was all full throttle. As far as them driving it and how the condition of the engine is, seems to be pretty decent. We inspected that. An officer and I inspected at the tow yard, and they left a flashlight behind in the vehicle. But yeah, it's kind of miraculous. You take advantage of getting inside of a vehicle, take it for a one-night joyride, and they don't steal anything. Still had all my CDs in there, my blank checks that I had, and I had like a box full of just miscellaneous stuff in the back, just untouched. It's a miracle. And the fact that there's just very minimal damage on it. On the passenger side, there's some scuffing, but I even wiped it off today, and it's coming off pretty well. Didn't seem to scrape the paint at all, and just some dents in the back, but I'm just lucky the shape it's in and it's not totaled. And the reason we kind of concluded that it was like a child or some teenager probably stole it was because that the seat was all the way up to the steering wheel, and just this whole circumstances that we calculated just turned out to be that it's probably some punk kid wandering around and just happened to choose mine out of the 5,000 vehicles that were out in the parking lot. So it's crazy. I don't have a parking garage here, so there's several of us that just park outside, and ever since then I got a steering wheel lock, which may not totally stop any thieves, but I also got a smile you're on camera sign in the car, and I got a camera set up at my bedroom window, so I got a great angle right out in the parking lot. So anyways, that's kind of the long story short. I'm really sick of repeating the story to the agents and everybody at work, and it's just stressful. It's not been too bad though. I mean, I've been handling it pretty well, but it's definitely a learning experience when that stuff's happening. So anyways, on the music side though, it's been pretty decent. I'm definitely slowing down after I've just kind of blown quite a bit on, well, not a whole lot on July, but with bills and just everything coming into place and stuff with the vehicle as well, putting some money into, it's just all kind of building up. So I'm just kind of watching my spending a little bit and trying to focus on perhaps buying some audio equipment. As you guys saw in my last video or live stream, I've been doing some DJ sets at the bar yet, and I'm trying to kind of invest some time looking at some different audio gear, audio mixers, and even some microphones for my videos. Oh yes, we are getting TikTok level famous here, so no, I fucking hate TikTok. There, I said it. But anyways, I got 5 records here, and probably going to start with this one here. I got this one at the local shop here at Vintage Vinyl, and I totally overlooked this one when I first spotted it, because I often check Subliminal Sounds' catalog on Discogs and stuff, and I didn't even see this in the shop till I was just kind of flipping through some like sealed releases, And yeah, I just totally missed this one when it came out. This is from last year. Kind of a fitting, kind of a funny title, Swedish Meatballs, the Hard Rock Psych Underground, 1971 to 77. I haven't fully indulged in this yet. I mean, I've listened to it plenty of times, but as far as like learning the backstory on these bands, it's basically a compilation of Swedish hard rock sounds from that time period. It's got a nice quality booklet here going all over the bands featured on here. It's got some great photographs and bios on here apparently. So yeah, I haven't really fully indulged in this yet, but I think Fire I may have heard of. There's several bands under the name Fire, but yeah, for the most part, pretty solid. It's a pretty steady release. Got some cool 45s here. Yeah, I need to look up some of this yet, or just kind of scope this all out yet, but as far as the music goes, it's pretty solid. You know, kind of more on just kind of basic hard rock, you know, with some progressive leanings. I wouldn't say necessarily anything too tripped out or, you know, psychedelic wise, you know, nothing trippy, but you know, of course they got to sell it somehow, right? Throw that psych title in there. But yeah, this came out last year, and you know, paid up for it full price. You know, I haven't done that in quite a while, so often I just never pick up sealed new releases like this, so it's kind of, you know, out of my way. But you know, I just was kind of feeling it that day, and I just took a blind chance on it. And Subliminal, I mean, they've released some great reissues over the past few years and over time. I think I've sold one. I can't remember the name of it. It's like John Michael Rock or Roke. I used to have that one. I mean, I do like it, but that was a few years ago now. But KS Ratliff, they reissued that one. A few others, but yeah, great label. And I definitely recommend this if you're into some of those Swedish territories. As far as new releases go, though, this year, Gerson, once again, I joked on Instagram, I was like, I gotta create a whole new bank account just for Gerson, because they've just been killing it, just robbing my bank account, man. The F-Trike. This has been out since like 1989. Was an archive release originally from Rockadelic. Rich Hop, you know, behind Rockadelic, was able to track these guys down. I think at least the guitarist down. It's got an interview in here. But yeah, it's a brand new release, and I'm kind of wanting a copy of this for a long time. And he tracked the band members down and was able to give tapes or just different sessions that this band had from when they were around. So originally they were known as Hickory Wind. It's like on a very small label. I don't know if it's a private press, but Hickory Wind, it's kind of more folk based, but they do reprise one track on here called Time and Changes. It's the opening track. And I'd say the first 4 tracks are like the strongest on here, but the rest of it's pretty solid itself. It's not nearly as memorable on the second half, but you know, if you're into that kind of gritty hard rock kind of biker sound, I think you'll definitely enjoy this one for sure. Yeah, it's a 3-piece band, you know, and this one's much more hard rock based than Hickory Wind. And I'll get a little shot here of the Obi strip. Interviews by what's his name, Kleeman of It's a Psychedelic Baby. Nice inner here, the insert. Goes into detail about where they recorded it, how they formed, and pretty solid stuff. Nice fuzz tone. And some of this, I mean, the first few tracks kind of sound like stuff you'd hear on Brown Acid compilation. First track especially. Kind of gives me that Brown Acid vibes. It's very upbeat. It's got this kind of gruff sound to it, kind of robotic vocals. You know, very stark robotic vocals going on. My favorite tracks, Wait and See, Lovely Lady. Lovely Lady kind of gives me like Bull of the Woods kind of vibes. I don't know why it reminds me of the Elevators, but for some reason it does, but yeah, Gerson, man, they've been just rocking it. I think their next one's like Thunder and Roses. Is that right? Then I know Dylan at Noble Records has got little specials coming out too. Necronomicon, and I actually had that one already, but um, it's just so good to see that Gerson just producing some of these high quality releases back to life. This one's been out of print forever. I think there was like one other unofficial release that probably doesn't sound that great. Gerson, they have your back. That's for sure. As far as this next one goes, so these next three are from Kansas City. This first one, I hadn't listened to this in a long time, and I just remember it being just sort of life-changing for me. I was just really impressed of how this sounded and the overall, sound imagery coming to mind, every time I'd stream this. So I went to a place, I think it was like central Kansas City, somewhere in the middle there. It's a place called Sister Anne's Coffee and Records, something like that. Definitely one of my more favorite record joints I went to. They were serving up coffee on the side. I'm not much of a coffee drinker, but I love the smell of it. And records to dig in, so it's just a perfect combination of the two there. And had some quality releases. Some prices were a little steep, and I kind of passed on a couple titles, but this is one I've been lacking for a long time and really wanted to pick this up. This is Outlander by Mike Stevens, originally on Warner Brothers. This is the reissue. It's not the numero reissue, it's the other one. Blank Records. This comes with the insert as well. It's got the lyric insert. And these lyrics are great. It's definitely one of the more stronger points with this artist. So, Mike Stevens, I don't know his whole backstory. I think he's a pretty well-renowned Welsh artist. Kind of gets a lot of comparisons to Bob Dylan when you see reviews online, but there might be a nod or two to Dylan, but for me it's much more enlightened and spiritual than Dylan. And he definitely goes on some places here. I mean, it's definitely psychedelic folk based, some wah guitar moving throughout, but the middle section of this record is so good. The Sailor and the Madonna, Oxblood, and then once you get to side 2 on Yorick, that track is mesmerizing, man. It's just so good. I remember the first time I listened to it on one of my walks. It's just like a perfect dusk evening. I was getting one of my walks in, and I was streaming that track. Well, the whole album I was, but that track Yorick on side 2, highly recommend you checking it out. It kind of moved me to tears. It was that good. Middle Eastern influenced, very raga inspired, and just the lyrical imagery you get in your head when you're listening to it just takes you to another planet, takes you to a whole nother realm. But yeah, the remainder of this is just super solid as well. It just really flows along nicely and is super strong for its style. Yeah, singer-songwriter based, but definitely has those trippy elements. And I guess he's got quite a bit in his catalog, but I guess I don't know his music too well. I haven't really looked too much past this one. This is kind of like his most well-known, so here's a little sticker. Sister Anne's Records and Coffee. I definitely recommend the place. Had a great chat with the owner of the shop about some of these titles, and yeah, there's a lot of punk titles in there as well if you guys are interested. Have a lot of punk rock in that shop. So, a shot of the label. Got it for a pretty fair price, so I think out of all these, I probably recommend that one the most. But this next one also, man, I forget the name of the shop, but I wish I could have remembered for this video, but also had some great stuff. This is the same day I picked up Outlander, and this is one of those records where I was kind of going in semi-blind. I kind of had an idea what it sounded like. I knew it was kind of Mamas and Papas influenced. It was folk pop based, but the more I spun this, man, I really fell deep into this one and been kind of listening to it quite often. But the shop I was in, he was playing the third power over the speakers, and I was like, I recognize this. Had an original copy in there. I wish I saved the photo. I took a photo of it. The colors just pop on the sleeve. You know, it's just one of the cleanest copies I had seen of it. I did pass on it. He was asking a pretty steep price on it. I did pass, but he wanted some good deals on these records, which I don't blame him. But whoever is curating all this, you know, sort of 60s psychedelic stuff in his shop, he knows what he's doing. He's bringing in some crisp copies, and one of them is the next one I'll share. But this is one I picked up for $10. This is Juarez on Decca, one and only lone record. Kind of a major label sleeper, you could say. Some people call it. I call it that. Got no promotion, basically. Didn't have any hits on here. I think there's one track on here a pretty well-known artist later covered. I think it's the track Langdon Street, maybe? Or The Dutchman. I think it's The Dutchman. Someone covered that track, and it became more well-known. Some Chicago artist, I forget the name, but yeah, it's another three-piece band, and you also have some session members backing them up on here. Hal Blaine, Ron Schwartz, Joe Osborne, Moose Midwood. A lot of great names on here. I think they were based out of Florida, maybe. I know one artist was. What's his name? Ron Kikasola. He was like one of the more people that did the arrangements on here. And then the two on the back here are like a couple, Barbara and Mike Smith. And they had like another record later on, I think, under their name. But yeah, Juarez, I don't know where that title comes from, but this is fantastic. It's like kind of one of the longer LPs from back in the day. It's like 40 minutes, I think. So it's got plenty of material on here. Like I said, folk pop based, but they go from some upbeat moments, up-tempo moments to, you know, sort of a loner, you know, kind of a Baroque pop feel to it. And just tinges of psych. I wouldn't say it's very psychedelic oriented, but it's of the time period, which makes it kind of, you know, very special in that way. The last track, though, really was kind of the deep cut on here, St. Mary's Railroad. It's like an 8-minute track. The vocals, you know, the male-female harmonies, plus the kind of eerie organ sounds, kind of remind me of Music Emporium in a way. It's that good. Tracks like Starfisher, Lauderdale Rain, and Langdon Street was my other favorite off here. I gotta upload some of these tracks on YouTube. They're kind of hard to find, so I'll definitely be uploading them soon on my other channel sometime down the road. But yeah, it's basically out of print. This had no reissue. I don't think there's even a CD of this, and you can still find this for like $10 on average. So I do recommend this if you're into that kind of vibe, you know. Very much folk pop, but some Baroque tinges, soft and upbeat moments. Nothing really rocks on here, but kind of a sleeper and kind of a good one. So kind of raved about that one enough, but yeah, it's definitely got a coffee house vibe too. One of the members, Ron, he was definitely part of that coffee house scene in Miami, supposedly. I was kind of reading up on his obituary. He had passed away. I think they've all passed away now, but definitely an interesting album, and definitely doesn't get enough chatter. So Juarez for your cheap heat special. And then this last one here, this is one that I've been trying to track a clean copy down, and I think I may have spotted it a couple times in the shop. Like I was saying earlier, you know, this is one of those copies where whoever's bringing all this quality stuff in, this is one of their items, and when you look at this, man, this just pops. And this is Thank Christ for the Bomb, Groundhogs. Really been lacking a copy of this. You know, I had that t-shirt made, and you know, I wish it didn't have the title on the t-shirt. I wish it was just like the three of them and said Groundhogs. There was a shirt circulating for a while, and it was like in a navy green. Man, I wish I had that shirt, but yeah, it was sold out when I looked it back up. But yeah, very good definitely the start of like where they're trying to go full on kind of progressive hard rock, kind of leaving a lot of those blues tinges behind. But of course, they all had their start somewhere, and those blues roots still seep in here quite a bit. But it's not distracting at all. It's very much in that hard rock vein. We just lost Tony McPhee this year, and just one of those grimy guitar gods, man. They just really wail on their albums that they made up until like Hogwash. And I sold that one. That was like my first introduction to them. Wasn't the best introduction, but yeah, this is a crisp copy here. So good shot there. Just look at the clarity on that one. I probably need to put it in a different sleeve, but it's on the Liberty label. I probably only spun this a couple times since I've had it, so need to give it a few more spins. But I know the album pretty well. Gave me a decent price on both of them, so both that I picked up at the shop. And I've had some favorite tracks. I love the title track, Soldier. All of side one's great. Side two, not as strong maybe, but I don't know, it's all great. So yeah, check her out. Groundhogs. One of my favorites. And I'd probably say Split, if I had to choose like my favorite. Split is definitely the one I return to the most, and probably their heaviest effort to date. So about wraps it up. Don't have too much more to share. We'll see what this weekend brings. I'm going to see if my college buddy's going to stop over or not. And just really thankful I got my car back, and it's decent shape. It's drivable. It needed an oil change too before it got stolen, but I got that all worked out now and got an appointment. So yeah, they only used it for one night. I still had enough gas today to drive in it, and didn't use very many miles. So it's quite incredible. So anyways, won't keep you. Thanks for tuning in. Check out Juarez. Check them all out. And we shall see you down the road.